G'day guys, it's Ben and Simon here. Welcome to another episode of the Pumped On Property Show. I think we're at episode, 22 now for the relaunch?
Yeah, episode 22 for the relaunch. How good's
that?
That's
insane.
I know, it feels like
decided to restart.
it's gone so quickly, man. Like 22 weeks has just flown by this year, hey?
I know. And we've been a bit slack. Sorry guys, we've been chucking bonus episodes up there of just videos we're doing for YouTube. But appreciate you guys persevering with us.
Yeah, sticking through. We love it and we do it as often as we can, but sometimes duty calls and we've got to go out there and actually buy some properties.
You know, I bought 17 properties this month for clients,
insane,
and we've got
bro.
another 5 offers in today, so it might end up being 22 properties we bought this month. And when that happens, sometimes the podcast...
Yeah, goes on the wayside for a minute. But that could be the biggest month buying-wise, potentially.
I think it's the biggest month we've ever had. It's just the market's softening at the moment,
Yeah.
and it always happens at this time of the year. And so places that might have been selling for 20 grand more last month to the average person, not the prices that we pay for clients, have now like really settled down.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and when there's opportunity, you've just got to take it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had a mate who'd been looking on the sunny coast for over 6 months and he's just getting fatigued. You know, he was really struggling, and then he found this property that fell over on finance. It was beachside Nicklin Way on the Sunshine Coast, so that pocket of the market that's just been booming. It's probably gone up 15-20% over the last 12 months
At least, man.
and yeah, it fell over on an offer that was $915, and then he managed to pick it up for $900,000, which is just a massive indication that there is a slowing down in the market. So for all you investors out there that are hoping to get in, this is awesome news for you.
The FOMO's over.
Yeah.
Like, the hype's over. The people looking to move because they're in inner city Melbourne for 9 months and they've been stuck in a 1-bedroom unit that wanted to escape aren't escaping. The economy's going well. People are getting jobs. Unemployment's going down. And so I feel like people have just taken a breath, gone, shit, that escalated quickly. You know what I mean? And now it's back to normal, and that is an exciting thing. Now, properties are still going up in value quickly in good suburbs, but not at a rate of 2-3% per month like they were.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, but you know, all good things come to an end, and that's one of them. Bless you. Now, something that we are always talking about is financial freedom and you know, why we want to achieve it. But in today's video, we're going to actually break down how you can become financially free through property, which is quite exciting. You know, hopefully giving you guys some tools and tricks and some ideas to focus on to go out there and actually do it, because it's all well and good to go out there and buy properties. And, you know, we know lots of investors that aren't financially free.
Myself included.
Myself included.
I'm working towards it. I know I've got a property portfolio now that will make me free, but I haven't paid it off. I've still got millions of dollars of debt that I'm working down.
For sure, exactly. You know, the intention is always there from every investor. It's why we invest in property. But to actually get there is a completely different ballgame.
Without a doubt. And, you know, what's been cool lately is a lot of confident big dog investors are coming back around. Like, we've got clients that run really big businesses, do really well in stocks, really well in crypto, have big property portfolios, people that are already financially free in many different ways coming through. And they're the sort of investors that are in the market because they're savvy, they understand timing, and they want to take advantage of the coming opportunities. But I suppose, you know, what both Simon and I wanted to say, and why I don't know what I'm trying to say there.
Prefaced?
Sorry, guys. English is my second language. Numbers is my first. Actually, numbers is my second as well. Property is my number one. But anyway, you know, property is really just the vehicle that we've been using.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I've always used my job or my business and property. But we work with heaps of people like that use crypto, that use stocks, that use businesses, that just work really, really good quality jobs, that are making an absolute fortune, and all they're doing is reorientating that money into property. We know people that have side hustles and stuff as well. there's so many different ways to get there, and you've got to really choose your own vehicle based on what you enjoy doing, because the reality is you're going to have to do this thing for the next 15 years minimum. And so you might as well enjoy the asset class that you choose to get you financially free.
100%. Like, it's what Buffett talks about as well, value investing. And he's always investing in companies that he knows and believes in, because he knows the ups and downs of the journey from experience. So, if you're focusing on something that you like, then when shit gets hard, because it will, when shit gets hard, you can sort of navigate your way through those challenges a little bit easier. Like, I was listening to one of his videos recently, and it was pretty cool. He was talking to someone about the opportunities that he had to invest in Microsoft, to invest in Google, and all of these massive IT companies. But what he said is, at the time, he didn't understand it fully. And because he didn't understand it fully, and it didn't necessarily align with his value system, he just let it go. And he said, there's going to be opportunities that come and go. That's the world that we live in. That's the markets, right? Property, stocks, crypto, like, they come and go at different times, and there's so many different ways. But choosing your lane, choosing your vehicle is super, super important. And that's feedback from the best investor of all time. So
I love that, man. In his HBO doco that's available for free on YouTube, there's this thing that he walks past every day on his way to the office, and it was from a baseball. Yeah, Mackie D's. Loves a bit of Mackie D's, the Buffett.
loves the bacon and egg brisket, or bacon egg McMuffin.
Look, it's doing something good for him. But he, has this picture from this baseball book that he read, and it's like to just pick off shots. Like, what makes a good baseball hitter and an average one is to know which shots to swing for, or which balls to swing for. And so he's got this, he calls it his circle of competence, and he knows what fits within there. And obviously Tech didn't fit within there for a long time until he became friends with all those guys.
Yeah,
probably.
exactly.
And so it's now a case of the same thing. I understand property really well, and I wish I got into crypto 3-4 years ago, for sure, the same as everyone else. I didn't understand it. What I've now realized is I know it so poorly that every single time I'm thinking about doing it, I'm almost calling it Ben's top, and then it pretty much crashes, because I'm the average punter that doesn't know anything about it, that just wants to get the quick money. And so by the time I'm ready to make that quick money, which is so late, the market's already come and gone, and it's about to crash again. And one of my mates, who's an accountant who also worked in the hedge funds, is a crypto trader. He set up this model, and he literally calls it Ben's top in his model. It's he's like, every time I know that you're reaching out to talk about crypto, man, we're getting bubbly. He's literally said it in the spreadsheet as that.
That's so good, hey. He's fully figured that out as well, though. But
he's done one thing for 8 years.
Yeah, it's basically a decade of just focusing on that. And even when you say property's our vehicle, it's not even property. IT stocks isn't for Buffett. We don't develop, we don't do units, we don't do commercial, we don't do
house and land in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
Regional.
we just stick to what we know, love, trust and value most, which is just standalone residential houses in quality metro markets. It's not rocket science, it's not that hard, but we've picked our lane because we listen to people like Buffett, we listen to people like Dalio, we listen to people like who's big man?
I don't know, I listened to
motivational dude, Tony? Unshakable, Tony. Jesus, escaped me for a second there. Tony Robbins. We'll listen to Damo, your mate, and understand that you just got to pick your lane.
Yeah, and so the two strategies that we have now, or that I have personally for myself and my investment portfolio from a property perspective, is simple. One of them is capital growth orientated.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll talk about that in a lot more detail in a moment. The second one is capital growth, because you should be always going for blue chip, in my opinion, and then cash flow on top of that. So the first example of growth might just be that standard 500 to 1,000 square metre block in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, close to the city or close to the beach. The second option might be the same option, but in one of those few parts of Australia where you can legally build and rent out a granny flat. So, you know, that's the plan. And, you know, I've built a portfolio around that. But within that, if we break those two different strategies into more detail, like the first strategy of capital growth, as Simon said, is not just Brisbane, but the best parts of Brisbane, which I believe are the northern beaches, the eastern beaches, the city centre, the south side and the southeastern beaches as well.
And if you're going for this first strategy of growth being the way to achieve financial freedom, you really should be in the blue chip areas. You know, you're not going to be buying in regional towns, mining towns. You're not going to be buying, you know, in northwest Brisbane or northwest Melbourne or southwest Sydney, like 60, 70 kilometres from the city, because that's not blue chip. You need to be in the quality areas that are emotionally driven by owner-occupiers.
Yeah, and so we want to be in places with good average household incomes, low vacancy rates. We want to be in places where there's a high percentages of owner-occupiers, a low percentage of renters. We want to be around great schools, great infrastructure. We want to be close to, you know, good paying jobs that can create wealth for people. And so that strategy is particular. Now, there's two different ways that you can do that, and I'll talk about it more at the end of the podcast. But one way, I believe, is the slower, low-risk way, which is the way that all of our parents did it: buy a great investment or a home in a great area and then just hold it forever.
Yeah.
You know, hold it for 15 to 30 years. And hopefully over 15 years it goes up by an average of 4.8% a year, and you know that $1 million becomes $2 million in 15 years is the theory behind that idea.
And then you don't have to necessarily learn about timing or, you know, understanding when to buy, when to sell. You know, if you are just a full-on long-term investor, it, you know, takes out a few of those trickier things to figure out. But, you know, for us, being a bit of a smarter investor, working smarter, not harder, is sort of our philosophy, and like incorporating timing into that strategy is really important.
You know, I want to say something to that, because I don't think either of us are any smarter than, actually most of our clients are way smarter than us. Like what I will say though is I'm obsessive about continuing to bring on new information and learn and grow. And so being the smartest person in the room, I've got some really smart friends who are just fuck ups. Like I've got some really dumb friends that are making millions of dollars a year as well. What I would say is you want to be the person that's consistently learning, growing, getting better and figuring this stuff out. So one of the ways that we do this first option of capital growth is around, and sorry, I just want to touch on this too, because talent and smartness is super dangerous. It breeds complacency and it breeds like, I know more than other people, and that's so dangerous because like there's ego and you can get really fucking caught out in investing with ego and bias. Like I have before myself. I've got smashed. I'm like, I know this shit. Oh my God, I don't know anything. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I've got so caught out on that before.
It's always going to happen no matter what as well though. Like you just, you know, you'll emotionally make a decision and then it won't come out to being. It happens.
But it's like, continuing on with this little rant that I'm on right now, like what Simon and I have figured out from obsessively looking at history is that there is a higher risk, faster way to invest. So let's say that Phil Anderson and Fred Harrison and guys well before them figured out a pattern. Like actually people started to figure out this pattern back in like 1000 BC.
Yeah, it was
like
such a long time
BC,
ago.
Like after Christ, like, you know, people started to figure out in France and Europe that there were cycles around the way that money moves even back then. And so what we've found is that, let's say that you start investing at the bottom of a cycle. So that would mean the cycle started after the GFC in about, 2012?
Yep.
And if you know your history, generally the capital cities with the most diverse economies do better first because their economy is less reliant on one thing that's smashed in a GFC. They recover quicker, governments understand that if they get the big city centre job markets back, it will re-stimulate the rest of the economy faster. So let's say that the government wants to stimulate Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, which have 75% of Australia's population between them. it's a very, very easy way for money after a bad time to filter into areas that are going to make the most viable difference in the easiest way. And New York, London, Singapore, Bangkok,
Yeah.
Tokyo's everywhere. They're the same big cities that crush it around the world.
Yeah, you get that money moving through the high income earners, through the big cities with the highest populations, and naturally that's going to spread through the rest of the economy, through tourism, through whatever it may be.
Fully. And so these people or these cities do well. And so it's like, if you know this, you could possibly buy Sydney a couple of years before the worst is behind you, and then ride that wave. And this is a strategy to do it short term. And then maybe if you had bought in 2012 and then sold in Sydney in 2017, for example, a lot of people made 60 to 100% gain. Then you just chill on that money for a little while. Whatever you decide to do with your financial advisor or your accountant is up to you.
Yep.
And then in the second half of these cycles, so, that's from about 2021 until about 2025, 26 in this current one, you look at your Adelaide, your Brisbane, your Perths, and you put your money in there. And again, historically, those markets in previous cycles have done very well. Like, honestly, like 85% growth was the last cycle. Actually, the last cycle was 128% in Brisbane, 140% in Perth. The one before that was like 85%. So it's like you move your money in there and then you exit out at the top.
Which would have been, previous growth cycles would have been basically 2007, 2008.
Yeah, like in Brisbane, actually it would have been more like 2000 to 2007. So like the 5 or 7 years leading up to the GFC, because the GFC did start coming through in about 2008. So it's like, if you can understand your history, you can understand that money moves in a particular way, and you can work in with your financial advisors or your accountants and your property people to like figure it out. So for me, my strategy here around growth is, in Australia, buy Sydney and Melbourne after the GFC. If I'm very active, exit out. Some people say never sell, but if I'm being very active and want to create wealth quickly, exit out, park that money, do something with it while I wait, then get back into your Brisbanes, your Perths, do very well out of them, exit out, and just keep the money moving. Now, I've worked out that I think, by doing that, I can almost double my average annual return versus keeping the money in the same market for the full 20 years.
Exactly.
But then there's tax implications, there's pain, there's stress, there's all the stuff that comes with it. So I think, that's a much more active strategy, and you have to be very, very, very aware. Like, definitely go read The Secret Life of Real Estate Banking, Boom, Bust, The Power in the Land from Fred Harrison, and get your head around this shit. And it's not for everyone. It's certainly not something that we encourage clients to do. It's more just that's an advanced strategy that we use.
Yeah, and we intend to buy multiple investment properties over our lifetime, and there's heaps of people out there, and I know so many of you listening to this, probably want to buy 5-10 investments. And if you are willing to be that active and take on that much risk, then this can be a really, really powerful way to create financial freedom for yourself in the future. So with that growth, just sort of recapping on that, you've got your old school way, which is your probably safer growth way, which is just buying a really high quality asset in a quality market, in a quality area of that market, and holding for at least 15 years, ideally 20 to 30 years, and selling and living off the capital gain that you get from that particular asset, or reinvesting that capital gain. Or there's the faster, riskier, more active way where you're timing the right markets at the right time, and the more populous metropolis areas tend to do better out of a GFC, and then your secondary cities like Brisbane, Perth, etc. do better out of the second half, and trying to time these markets. So with Ben's example, if you did Sydney well, you should have been able to make about an 80% return over that. What was that?
7 years.
7 years, and same for Brisbane. Essentially, if you do it really well based on previous growth cycles, and then just constantly doing this. And there's a couple of ways. You could pull some of that capital to use that as your income and live off that, or you just keep going higher and higher, right? And just you might start with a $500,000 property then that might enable you to then jump up to a $700,000 property in the next cycle, then $1 million, and so on and so forth.
Without a doubt. You know, we don't know what's going to come next at all. We're just using history to make decisions. Now, how I'm using that history at the moment is I've got a little bit of savings that I've been putting away for the last couple of years, and I'm going to try and buy 1 or 2 more places in Brisbane close to the beach. And my intention is to hold them for the next 5 to 6 years and hope that they go up in value. I don't know if they will, but I have a feeling they will. And then I'm going to sell them at the top of the market. And, you know, just that's going to help pay off a little bit of the debt for some of my properties faster. Now, I'm taking on massive risk, massive debt, and hoping that that's going to work out. But worst case scenario, I can hold those properties for 10, 15, 20 years until they do work out. I just, you know, it's a gamble, and this is the risk of investing. And this is why, you know, the safest way to do it is the long-term way. And that's why Simon and I both also do the long-term way. Like, we've got 4 investment properties basically each that we're just going to hold like for a long time. We just don't have a plan for those properties yet, but it's like they are good quality properties that you hold regardless of cycles and what's going on. Yeah.
One other thing that I wanted to add to the growth strategy, and this is something that we also do, just in case the market doesn't do what you want it to or do what you planned.
Which it almost never will, by the way.
Exactly. But it's, you know, adding in a bit of a value add. So, you know, that might be buying an existing home, and when you are getting ready to strategically sell it, having the ability to renovate it, add some value to the property, maybe replace the kitchen or bathroom, you know, do some landscaping. It could even potentially be adding bedrooms or bathrooms.
Fully.
So you kind of taking matters into your own hands. What we've personally done is like knock down rebuilds. So buy something that is rentable for the time being, but then having the capacity to be able to knock it down and rebuild it in the future. So
I wish I had a few more of them like you do. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, seriously, I'm so happy. So happy about those 2 first purchases.
Yeah, they're so good.
It's just giving me so many options. It's perfect.
No, I love it, man. And, you know, this is a journey for us too. Like, the Pumped On Property Show is almost documenting our ideas as they evolve. Like, if you were to listen to the things that I was saying 5 years ago,
starkly different to now.
I had so much structure then in the way that I was doing things because I didn't realize that you could do it multiple ways. You know, and now I'm getting, you know, I'm realizing there's a time and a place for properties that you hold forever. There's a time and a place for some properties that you might hold for 10 years or 15 to sell. There's a time and a place for properties that give you cash flow that you own outright. There's a time and a place for properties that give you an extra couple of $100 a week cash flow to cover the negative on the bluer chip place that you want to hold and sell in 10 years. Like, there's a combination of things you can do. And so as an investor, our job is to take the different ideas, think about our risk profile, talk to financial advisors, mortgage brokers and accountants, and then commit to a plan. Now, I was listening to something that Tony Robbins did this week, and it was so big for me because I've been sort of sitting on the fence in a fair few areas in my life for a little while. Like, I just think I needed a bit of a breather to just catch my breath after like a lot of years of busting my ass. And I just went, he just said one simple thing, and it's like, decide what you want to do and then just do it. And it's like, I went home that night, I sat down for 4 hours, I had like the Michael Jordan, The Last Dance in the background, had like 5 cups of tea, and I went family and friends as a category, I went health as a category, and I went wealth as a category. Now, they're my 3 big values in my life. And family and friends, it was simple as I want to catch up with my family every fortnight for dinner. So I like immediately put a message out into the group, and at some point in the next month we'll start that. It was like with friends, I just want to catch up with my mates more regularly and go down to Sydney to see the old boys like 3 times a year and just have some fun. Like, you know, I got a bit serious there for a while with all the little kids and stuff, and like took
naturally,
right, a bit too serious.
You just got to sometimes.
Raising babies, like, you want to be there with them.
Yeah.
And then like from a health perspective, I went, I'm so sick of putting so much pressure on myself. I just have a different goal now. Now, he talked about if you really want something to happen and it's meaningful to you, turn it into a daily ritual. So my new daily ritual around health now is I wake up, I do 20 minutes of movement. It could be Qigong, Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, or stretching. Then I do 10 minutes of meditation, and then I jump in my pool, which is, it shouldn't be, but it's ice cold right now because it's shaded. I've now realised from the sun all winter. So it's sitting at about, I reckon, 18 degrees now. It feels colder, and in 30 minutes I'm done. And I'm
set up,
primed for the day. And if I don't do any other movement,
you're kind of happy.
I'm stoked. And it's like, health doesn't have to be more intense than that, because I would naturally eat well anyway. And then wealth-wise, it was so nice to finally create a plan. Like, we've been chewing and throwing on the business and how we want to do it for fucking since you started. And we'll probably keep doing that. But it's like, you know, we've just made some really hard decisions in the business recently, and we haven't taken on a new one this month, and we're not going to take on a new one next month to just help the people that we're already working for. And then we will be able to take on a good number of people a month again and work with absolute legends. And I'm clear on that. And with my properties, I'm like, I want to slowly start paying off some debt as one thing I'm doing. And the second thing is, I know I now want to buy a couple of others which I can sell in 5 or 6 years. And just even that, this is what I'm doing and this is what I need to do that.
Clarity.
It's fucking beautiful. And then wealth-wise too, I was also like, I want to start putting a tiny bit of money a week away into stocks, because I just cannot unlearn what I read in Phil Anderson's stuff, like Warren Buffett shit, Ray Dalio's, and Tony Robbins. If they're all saying just invest in the index funds for 40 years and your life will change.
You got to start somewhere.
Income's, you know, and that's some diversification too, which is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that stuff's all time consuming. It took 4 hours. I didn't sleep heaps well that night because I was so wired from it. But now I'm clear again and I've decided. I'm just like, fuck, this is what I want to do and I'm just going to do it.
Dude, I love it. That's so awesome to hear, hey. And I try and do it all the time, like just reconnect to myself and reconnect to my true values, because, you know, otherwise, what are we doing all this stuff for? And, you know, life gets in the way and you become different people throughout the journey because that's the person that you need to be at that point in time. But like, just, you know, the other night when the full moon was here, I like went down to the beach and took down like a little journal and just sat there and kind of wrote down like who I truly want to be as a person, because I feel as though like what I've had to become to get to where I am now, which is 4 properties at the age of 28.
There's a sacrifice in your identity.
There's a full-on sacrifice, and I'm like, cool, I just want to, like, now that that's done, I just want to kind of reconnect with who I am and figure out, you know, what my biggest values are and who I like the aspects of myself that I like the most, to then help me move forward and figure out what's next, because it's going to be a long ride and it's going to be awesome, but just constantly coming back to reconnecting to who I truly am, to figure out those values, to make sure that I'm on the right path is so important. And, you know, so many people just get caught in the rat race, right?
Yeah.
And they're just doing their thing, they're just plotting along life, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're old.
Yeah.
So I think like constantly doing this, like you probably do that once every 6 months maybe.
Yeah, like, and I'm thinking about it all the time because I still go and see a psychologist once every 2 weeks, and every single conversation is, how have you been living? What do your day-to-day decisions look like against your value system? And it's just a constant check-in. And like, I actually write him in as like just a mindfulness coach now. Like, I don't even see it as that. It's just the government will pay for like 80% of my session so that I can go and like be the best version of myself. It's like, I highly recommend anyone that's thinking about that, that's like ashamed, to just go, if you need help, get help. But then if you don't need help and you're just in a good place, like, learn how the brain works and continue to like head in the right direction. Like, what did you write down, man? Like, because that's a beautiful thing to be able to sit there and do. Like, what came out of that journaling session? Who did you decide that you are? It was
pretty cool. Like, the first, I kind of wrote like 4 different statements of all those different areas of my life.
What were the 4 areas for you?
I don't know if I feel confident sharing it fully hectic with everyone, but the first one was like, I am a happy light-hearted, full person that enjoys living life to the fullest.
Love that.
So that was sort of my main thing. Then the second was like talking about family and friends. And it's like, I'm a good friend to everybody in my life, and I just want to support the people that I care about the most to the best of my abilities. The other was like wealth, and it was just like I am successful and I have the control to manifest and create anything that I want for myself, because I've been able to do that to date. And the next was just sort of talking about like who I sort of want to be as a person moving forward as well, which is just, somebody that is adventurous and, likes doing fun activities all the time as well. And, just feeding that kid inside every single one of us as well. So it was like really nice to realize, and I took my time to go through it as well, and just sat down there while my dog was running around like a crazy person on the beach, and just getting sandy as and loving it, and the moon was coming up. It was really, really nice, and just going, fuck, like, it's like a little bit of like self-embellishment, but at the same time, like, sometimes you just need to pat yourself on the back and go, you are who you truly are meant to be.
I love that, man. Like, not sometimes, it's like just being kind to ourselves is everything. Like, it's so easy to get lost in this world. Like, what I've realized is your boss has a vision for your life.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember Jim Rohn saying it. I always keep coming back to this guy as I get older. It's like, he's like, and Tony says it too. It's like, you may as well have your own vision for your own life. Otherwise, someone else will have a vision for it and they'll take you along that path.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely, I can see it with my old bosses. It's like they had a vision, I was working for them, and like I was tied into their vision because I couldn't see clearly how I wanted my life to be. And it's like, I have tried to design a business that works for me, but I've also tried to design one that's a little bit thoughtful for the people that are supporting my vision at the same time. So there's like a bit more flexibility. There's not as much there's structure in our business, don't get me wrong, like more than any business I've ever been in. But it's also like, because there's structure, there can be flexibility and freedom too.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I was saying to you the other day in that text message, I was like, there's just no one else's life that I can look at that I'm like, I want that. There's other parts of people's life that I'm like, that's cool for you. But I'm like, I don't have a successful person that I'm like, I think they're living the way that I'd want to live. Like,
you got to create it for yourself, right?
Fully got to figure it out your own way. Like, healthy, great relationships with your partner, your kids, time, like space, like between thoughts, and good health routines, and like, plus it's fucking completely cool to have money and make as much as you want as well. Like, you can do all of them, but it's just like most people aren't. Nah, they aren't.
But we're not taught to do this shit. Like, you just got to figure it out for yourself. And like, it's been so powerful and beneficial for us. There's no doubt about it. And that's why like these podcasts always get back to this type of conversation as well, because it's just like, the searching within is what's going to help the external. So searching internally is the only thing that's going to get the stuff externally happening for you as well. Like, I've got this quote on my vision board at work, and it's like, don't chase love, money, or success. Become the best version of yourself, and those things will chase you.
Completely.
And it's so true, man. Like, we were talking to one of our clients, Cam, from down in Melbourne the other day. Oh, no, it wasn't Cam. It was another guy down from Melbourne. And he sent me an email, and it's just like a quote from the Bible. And it was just exactly that. It was, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Abraham God asked Abraham, what would you like? And most people would ask for money, wealth, love, all of these things. But he's like, give me wisdom. Because with wisdom comes everything else. Completely. And that's the journey to financial freedom. Like, the money isn't going to make you any happier. So figure out who you want to be, create the plan from who you want to be, and then slowly but surely chip away at it.
I love that.
And that's like where this next strategy comes into play as well, like the capital growth and cash flow strategy that we're employing, because it's, if you're constantly chasing the growth, you're going to constantly be moving the goalpost. But with this one, it is so much more clear and so attainable for the average person.
This is simple. Buy 2 houses. This is the 2 properties, the financial freedom concept.
Which I think we did in episode, like
One
one of
of
the
the
first
early
5.
eps.
One of the first 5.
Buy 2 houses that rent for $500 each a week. Build 2 granny flats, or whatever you want to call them based on your market in Australia,
Yeah.
that rent for another $300 a week. So you've got 2 houses and 2 granny flats renting for $800 a week each, or $1,600 a week combined.
And you did this just while we're on it. Like, there's 2 ways to do it. It's buy an existing house, build a granny flat in the backyard, or you buy a piece of land to build a brand new dual occupancy home, or you buy a house that needs to be knocked down and you rebuild a dual occupancy home. It's just about getting to that $700 to $800 a week of rental income per property.
2 incomes from the one property is what it's about. Whichever way you figure out legally in your council area that you can do it,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it. I've seen examples where people are just renting a house and a granny flat out to one family for $800 a
Yeah.
week. Like, we've got clients in Brisbane City that have done that.
Yeah.
In North Brisbane that have done that. I've seen people do that in Sydney, even though they can rent them separately. Like, I've seen so many variations. And I've even seen people just go for one house that rents for $800 a week without worrying about the granny flat. So
Yeah.
this concept of cash flow is just more that, cash flow.
Yeah.
And figuring out the safest, lowest risk way to do that in a market with a vacancy rate below 2%, which is important. Then, with a 2.5% increase in the rent per year on $800 a week times the next 15 years, which is just inflation or a bit above, which property and stocks do a bit above inflation, which is why people invest in them. You're going to have a property and a granny flat or whatever, the version, a house, dual income, that's renting for over $1,000 a week. And if you've got 2 of them times 50 weeks a year, you're talking about $100,000 a year of income. Now, if you can figure out a way over that 15-year journey to just pay off that debt, we're talking about $100,000 a year of income minus taxes and costs in your pocket. Now, I was talking to one of the boys in the office, Hayden, who's a previous client and accountant and now who works with us. And he was like, it's just so simple. Like, rents will increase over time. If I pay principal and interest, plus I pay, the tax benefits I get, plus the surplus money that I get from the property's rent over time, plus a little bit out of my own pocket each week, I'll be there in 15 years without breaking a sweat.
Yeah. And that's like a very easy way to do it. But,
So easy.
there's the longer, slower way again, which is just P&I on the 2 properties over the 30 years
Pay
of
them
the
off over
loan
30
and just
years.
do your thing. Like, if you're getting started, before the age of like 35, then, 30 years from now, 65, that's retirement age, they'll be completely paid off. Like, if you love what you do and you're happy to continue working, there is that way. But, I believe that it is in our power to turn that 30 into 15 or 20 by just doing a couple of those smart things.
Honestly, like, it's so easy to do it in 15.
If you could do it at like 50 years of age instead of 65, I'd take it.
Without a doubt. And so, like, that concept is super simple. It's like, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, if there's options within those cities to consider a house that's going to grow in value anyway and you can get cash flow out of it, then I've considered both. Now, Simon and I have built portfolios that look like that, where we're going to target both. And then, like I said, there's other options that both of us have in our portfolios around the, taking advantage of the capital growth play. But that's the second strategy that we use. Heaps of our clients are using that at the moment to get to where they want to be too. And what I like about that one is there's a bit of a buffer against interest rate rises in the future because the cash flow is better.
Lower risk because you got 2 incomes instead of 1.
incomes.
So if somebody bails or stops paying rent, then you still got some income to help you pay the mortgage.
Now, in years like this, like, I know rents in Sydney and parts of Melbourne have gone down because of the oversupply, but in your Brisbane's, your Perth's, your Adelaide's, like, across my portfolios, I think my rents have gone up by literally $700 a week this year.
That's massive.
It's fucking insane. Like, that's just because the granny flat that I built 3 years ago that was running for $300 a week, the property manager's like, now I think I can get $350, and I'm like, I'm going to take it.
Yeah. Property managers, like Brandon down south side, he was like, the average granny flat down here now is renting for like at least $320 per week at the moment.
Well, he said yesterday too that he expects now $330 to $350 to be the new norm. Now, we're always going to tell our clients $300 a week.
Yeah.
It's how you model your numbers on to be conservative, but things slowly improve over time. Like wages increase, people's ability to, with tax concessions, like help, and people save money, and then all of a sudden that money goes back into the land. So there are two strategies. Within this framework, there's probably 4 stages. We've talked about this in episode 20, which is the 4 stages of property investing.
Yeah.
We're not going to go into it today, but the 4 stages are simple. First one is accumulation, where you buy the properties that are going to make you either wealthy or financially free in the future from a cash flow perspective.
Yep.
The only thing you focus on at that stage is getting a great plan, learning, and then buying the assets.
Yeah.
It's the slogging at stage. It's the like saving money and investing at stage. It's
the fun stage.
Fun stage,
yeah,
for sure.
It's fun as at that point because like everything's so fresh and new. Everything's exciting and you're expanding the portfolio. So accumulation is awesome. You know, some people, it might only take a few years depending on what they're hoping to achieve. Others, it could take 10 years to get through the accumulation phase. But, you know, planning being probably one of the biggest parts of the accumulation phase, because anybody can buy a property with a good deposit and a good income, but having the right plan to buy the right properties so that you can get to the third phase of this is really important.
It's also the most dangerous phase. It's where I made the most mistakes. It's generally when you don't have the best team of advisors because you're building them. It's also generally a time when you can get yourself caught with due diligence because you don't know what you should be looking at. And it can be a time when your plan, like my plan, I didn't even have a plan. My plan was just buy as many properties as the bank would lend me and hope I'd get wealthy. But I really wanted to just be financially free with a small amount of passive income. My strategy didn't support my actual goal of choices in my life.
That's because there was a misalignment between your values and your strategy as well, though, because you didn't know at the time that you were happy to just have a couple of $100,000 of passive income. You wanted the jet at the time.
Yeah, like I literally was just...
Young 20s.
Like that was just the vision, man. That's what every dude was saying back then. Like
every
book was go big. There wasn't like the Tim Ferrisses going, hey, what about a 4-hour week? There wasn't the Tony Robbins. At that time, Tony's just like, go, go, go.
Yeah,
now he's like, hey, like, contribute. Think about your health. Look after yourself better.
Yeah.
There wasn't like the Laird Hamiltons and the Aubrey Marcuses and, you know, the Joe Rogans talking about a different way of doing shit.
For sure, which is it's such a blessing that they are now, because it's so true. Like everybody was just chasing cash back in the day, but now it's like cash should be a part of your plan, but at the same time, you know, figure out the other things that are really important to you.
It was also a time where everyone over the age of 40 that's ever bought a property has had that property almost double in value every 10 years for their whole lifetime. And it's like, so the mum's just like, just buy a property, it'd be sweet when it doubles every 7 years. And
exactly.
If it would, I would buy a 10, mum, but they don't anymore, mum, so get off my ass with it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's changed.
Yeah, and things are always going to change. 10 years from now to be a different game as well.
Fully.
So you've got to be willing to adapt. And then the next phase is consolidation. So once you've bought the assets, now it's time to pay off the debt. This, you know, is a slow burn, takes a lot of time, can be really, really tough and a massive grind. But, you know, things that you want to do at that point is meet with the accountant, meet with the financial advisor and go, okay, cool, well, this is what I've got. This is what I want. Am I going to get there, factoring in, you know,
what
everything?
What are your ideas for helping me get there faster?
Yeah.
Is it the right question?
Yeah. I got a mate that's just started his own financial advisory, and you know, I'm going to go catch up with him now that I've finished the accumulation phase and just go, cool, like this is what I've got, this is where I want to be, this is the options that I have, will that work? And then I've got the clarity, because then before I start paying off debt, if it's not going to get me to where I am, then I'm still obviously in the accumulation phase and I've got to do something more. But like just getting that silver bullet, that 100% yes, this is going to get you to where you want to be if you do X, Y, Z, then awesome.
Man, you should put your properties into my spreadsheet. You could see that without paying 10K.
Lucky using mates rates.
No, I'm just staring. I think it's awesome to get different perspectives. I'm constantly asking people smarter than me questions about how I can get there. Like, I was literally calling my dad on the way here this morning to talk about his experience with tax in his business over 20 years and the things that he's been doing to like figure it out. And so like you've just got to ask people better questions and you'll get better answers.
Hell yeah.
In consolidation too, it's a choice. So there's really two different types of people, I think. People that either enjoy their work or find the enjoyment in their work. Like I'm always looking for the enjoyment in what I'm doing, because it's like some days are hard even if you're doing your passion and your life's work. There's other people that hate what they're doing. They hate their industry. They hate their colleagues. They hate what they have to do. And we work with heaps of those people. And so for them, once you've bought the properties in accumulation, consolidation can be a choice to go, cool, I'm going to get free because I've got enough. So why not make the change now? Why don't I cut back at work, spend more time with my family? If I don't, why don't I change careers, jobs, start that business, or whatever you decide to do? It can be a real change maker at that point, because you don't need that heavy income to borrow money anymore. But it's also like, make sure you stay safe financially during that time and not just throw caution to the wind and put yourself in a hole down the line.
And, during that phase, there's the slow way again. Should we talk about that now, or?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it heaps in the last podcast, but the slow way is P&I, using the tax benefit from the property, if there is any, to pay off the debt, using the surplus income to pay off the debt. What else do you and I do? Like, I also...
A little bit of savings, because at that point, you're not necessarily saving for more deposits to buy more properties, so, however much. And at that point, you might be like, cool, well, I've been saving, let's call it 30% of my wage, and now I'm going to just save 20% of my wage, so like you're increasing your lifestyle a little bit at that point in time, but yeah, just a little bit of savings as well.
The fast way that I'm using is, the reason I'm buying these other assets in Brisbane to sell in 5 or 6 years is to hopefully make a little bit of money and use that chunk of money after I pay the tax on it to pay off debt faster. We've got other clients who invest in crypto or stocks or have good businesses, and they use that surplus money that they make from there to wipe off debt faster too. We've got Hayden in our team, for example. His idea is he's using property for the next 10 to 15 years. He's got $2 million worth of property. It's going to double in value, he reckons, in the next 15 years. He'll have a base of $4 million. He could sell all of that property except his home, and he could put that property into the index fund, and he could pull 4% out of $4 million a year, which is, I don't know off the top of my head, 160K. And he can live off 160 grand a year without having to worry about tenants. Like, there's so many different ways to get there. And so, like, it doesn't have to be to own the properties outright, keep them forever and worry about them. It can be, reinvested in another asset class that gives you the income. Talk to your advisors about that.
That's the thing about consolidation, is it's going to take you, at least probably a decade realistically.
And probably twice as long as you expect, unless you're earning really big money.
Yeah, exactly. So you got time to figure that sort of stuff out anyway. But then you sort of move into lifestyle, which is just, once you've got the passive income that you want, you can then live the life that you want of choice and whatever it may be at that point.
Lifestyle to me is, if I could cover my school fees, my costs associated with my home, my properties, cars, phones, internet, electricity, food, that'd be sick. Like, that's my first goal, and that's what I'm working towards. If all of those things were covered, plus like $300 or $400 a week of fun money, I would consider like I've hit lifestyle phase.
Yeah, that's like financial independence.
Yeah, and that's choices, but then from that comes the fourth stage, which is wealth. Now, I don't just want to break even and live like a hermit for the rest of my life. I do want to go overseas. I want to help charities. I want a unique life.
Have the ability to keep investing, start businesses if you have a cool idea. Just wealth is really where you have choices to, go push it that little bit further if that's what you have the energy and time to do at that point.
We're not talking like create wealth for Lambos or to be worth tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. When I say wealth, I'm like, wealthy to me would be like all of my base costs covered plus like $2,000 a week of income on top of that to just play with or to invest with or to have fun with. So, you know, maybe your version's a lot more than that, and that's completely cool. Like, we work with some clients at the moment, like what they're doing, I'm just like, man, you're so inspiring. Like, we've got Ray, who's at property like 13 now. We've got Ben, who wants to do 10 properties in Brisbane this year.
Running like one of the most successful businesses. You got Chris as well.
Who's like an absolute baller. Arash. Like, there's so many interesting people doing amazing things, and it's like they understand that we know our shit and that we're the right partner for the Southeast Queensland market because we've bought more than everyone else combined up here in the last 5 years. But it's also like we share the same value of choices. It's just they want to ball, and we're like, cool, we'll help you do that. And then we work with people like Hammett, who's a single mum that just wants to buy 2 houses, set up 2 granny flats, pay no more than $340K for each home, and to just have choices in 15 years time, because at the moment she can't see how her super's going to do it. And it's like, I love the variety of that.
There's so many different values out there, and that's why, like, at the very beginning you really need to figure out where you sit on that, I guess, on that scale. Like, are you just a simple person that wants, you know, 50 grand a year coming into the bank account, or, you know, are you somebody that wants to, you know, push to that elite level where you've got, you know, $500,000 coming in every single year from a diversified portfolio of business
and weird thing, man. I know I'm not, but I still see myself as a simple person. But I just want 250 grand a year. But it's like, I think we all want to. I want to be. Who doesn't want to, like, the simple, happy, like, life that where you're also contributing and tested as well?
Yeah. Because
that is the human experience. So, you know, from that, we've talked about the 2 ways to do it: the faster way,
the slower way, which is fine. But then it's just important to recognise the reality of real estate is it's slow. It's a long burn. It takes a hell of a long time. It's not the get rich quick vibe. It's not the get rich quick strategy. It's, you know, a bit lower risk. It's a little bit more boring than say business or shares or crypto or something like that. But at the same time, you know, it will eventually get you to where you want to be, so long as you are consistent with the actions every single year.
You know, it is also like daunting and scary, and you can get caught in your own mind all the time with it.
Markets can just throw you a curveball.
You know, what was that thing that you were telling me about earlier in the week about the comfort thing you're listening to? Because I feel like it takes you out of your comfort zone, not to a point where, like, you're physically fighting the saber-toothed tiger uncomfortable, but you're elevating up, because people just are taking 50 years to get financially free, and most people listening to this want to do it in 10 to 20. So it's like there's a certain amount of uncomfort having to break those patterns from the past and those muscles to grow. Yeah,
well, it's so easy and comfortable to just do what we've been told to do. Go to school, get a good job, buy a home, put money in super. You know, that's what's comfortable. That's what we've been taught to do. But this is creating a life that is, you know, completely different to any of that. The only question that you got to ask is, how many people in my life do I know that are financially free? And once you realize it's zero, you realize that this is a pretty crazy life that not many people get the opportunity to live. So, you know, 100% you got to take yourself out of that comfort zone and stretch. And, you know, discomfort's a good thing. Like, that's what I was listening to. It's a podcast from Joe Rogan and I can't remember the other guy's name, Michael Lester or something like that. He is talking about how good discomfort is for the human, like for a human being. And like, we live in this world that is so comfortable nowadays with, you know, hot water systems, air conditioning, lights, whatever it may be, technology, and how easy it is, you know, takeaway food, like all of it. And it's not a good thing for us. Like, we need to struggle a little bit more to be appreciative and grateful for what we actually do have.
Completely.
So, like, putting yourself into a position where you are answering challenging questions or overcoming challenging tasks is a really good thing because it builds that resilience, and then you've got more to give back when you get to that lifestyle phase as well, because once you've done it for yourself, then you can actually show and teach other people how to do it as well, which is like the beautiful self-actualization top of the pyramid.
It's so cool, man. Like, I think about that comfort thing in so many levels. Like, this morning I woke up and we were filming this morning early. Like, I was supposed to be here at 7:30 and I was here a bit after that. But, like, I set my alarm at 6 a.m. It was, like, 8 degrees outside.
It was chilly for the sunny coast.
I went outside and I did my yoga, and then I did 10-minute meditation, and then I jumped in the pool. And it was one of those mornings where my mind was playing tricks on me, and I'm like, after 4 minutes in the pool, I hopped out, and then I'm like, just hop back in the pool, man.
Right.
Like, what am I doing? Like, and it's okay. Like, not every day you're gonna show up in peak state. But
4 minutes in 16 degrees is pretty good as well.
Yeah, it felt pretty good, and it's like, there's so much discomfort after hopping out of the pool too, because it's taking me like 30 to 40 minutes to get warm again every morning, because it's like cold. And it's just, I know there's people listening to this going, man, you don't know cold. It's like 0 degrees down here in Canberra in the morning. I know, sorry, Mel. I know there's clients down there just going, F you guys, you live in sunny Queensland. But what drives you every single morning? Like, there was this Tony thing that you told me about as well, which is like, if you're even flirting with like, if you're going to do something and you've made the decision to do it, like, I'm going to jump in the pool.
Yeah.
Why even entertain the thought of like letting your mind play the game? And so in the mornings when I'm entertaining not jumping in, because some mornings I'm waking up and I'm like, I'm jumping in.
Yeah.
Other mornings I'm like, I do not want to go anywhere near this pool. On those mornings, I've been setting the alarm. I know I'm going to be in for 8 minutes, and I set it for 8:15. And I'm like, you have to be in the pool within the next 15 seconds no matter what. And it's just like, I don't know why I play these stupid games with myself. It's just like, and why hopping in that uncomfortable thing's good, but it's like the hardest part of every one of my days is over by 6:30 a.m. now, and it's like the rest of the day is just cream. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. And it's just resilience, right? It just builds resilience. It's like, fuck, if I can do the most challenging thing first thing in the morning, you know, it just means that like I can tackle anything today. I can do whatever I want to today, because I've already overcome the demons in my mind. And that's all of this stuff is. It's just overcoming the constant chatter, the demons, the negative self-talk. Like, it's just overcoming them and controlling them. Like, spending 8 minutes in a 16-degree pool is like, you know, the first 2 minutes you're facing all of those negative thoughts, but then you sort of get into and you find the clarity through all of that as well.
You know, it's so funny, man. Like, because it was 10 degrees outside, the pool was warm, and the pool's been warm every morning the inside has. So I'm like actually looking forward to getting in there because it's warm and what I'm doing. But it's just funny. Like, I love this stuff. Like, it's another little thing, right, that I'm working through at the moment is I've been doing meditation now. You got me onto it, what, about 9 months ago?
Yeah. Middle of last year.
Middle of last year. Like, I'd heard it from so many people that I care about and respect. And I could see in your life the benefit of what you were doing. Like, you just had a massive growth last year. And it was like, what's changed? Well, nothing. You've actually just simplified your mind.
Yeah. Just calmed the mind.
And I was like, this is too good. And then I got into a really bad anxious state again last year. And I went, okay, I'm just going to like have a crack at this. And I've been like, when I get on something, if I
all
see
or nothing.
benefit, I'm in. Like, I meditate. If I'm gonna, like, if I see a benefit in it and I can do it in 5 to 10 minutes a day, it's like a hack for the brain. I'm gonna like just incorporate that into the rest of my life.
Oh,
it's just
of course.
I do.
Yeah, and you do once it becomes like, once you overcome the first month of like, this is weird. I don't feel as though I'm getting what I need out of it, but I'm just gonna keep doing it anyway. Like, as soon as you get past that, it's just like, of course I'm going to do it. Like, of course I'm going to do it.
Yeah, but I've been only doing it guided for the last 9 months. And then 2 times this week I've gone, I'm just going to like, just not. And I'm going to just lie there and just do it. And I know that's weird to say that after 9 months you're just trialing that. But it's like, I was like, guided meditation, 10 minutes can feel like a minute to me. 10 minutes without any guided can feel like I'm there for 5 hours in my own body.
Yeah, sick.
But like, my mind's going off, and then I'm hey, that's cool. Like, it's just like the clouds
Yeah.
passing in the sky, and then I'm coming back, and it's like,
That's
that's helping big time. Like, I'm noticing jumps in my day.
That's where it really, starts to come, because the guided is good to learn, but at the same time, you're distracted the whole time when they're talking because you're focusing on what they're talking about, which is more often than not the most amazing positive stuff. But then the true benefit of mindfulness is taking control of your mind. So it's like sitting there within your own thoughts, and then that's meditation, is recognizing when your mind wanders off and then bringing it back. That's all that, like, even the best monks, that's all they're trying to do. And then you take it to the next level where you can start like manifesting and start like using mantras. Like when I was down on the beach for full moon, I was meditating on myself. May I be at peace. May I be happy. May I be filled with gratitude. Then I went through every single person in my life that is important to me, my family, my close friends, and did the exact same meditation. And then I went to like a broader, like, Queensland, then Australia, then the world, then people I don't like, then people that are suffering. And it's just like, by the end of it, like having the moon shining down and that, I'm just like, fuck, like,
that's incredible.
That's
man.
just like a beautiful, beautiful thing to like wish upon anyone. And once you do it to yourself, then to the people that you love, then to everybody, then to like people that may not be experiencing a good life at the moment, it's like you then start to feel compassion, and then like you literally get filled with gratitude. It's fucking so cool.
I love that shit. It's so inspiring, man. Like, I just love that I can learn so much about this stuff from you, and like that you're the guinea pig on so many things in my life, and I just get to figure it out after. I'm super grateful, man. Like, I love getting to share these conversations with you guys listening. Like, a lot of you guys already know us, and we've become good friends through the business. And also, I know heaps of you haven't reached out yet, and we will talk in the future. But we just genuinely want you to have a life that is meaningful for you. Your meaning is so different than ours. Like, and that's okay. Like, figure out what you value. Find a way to make decisions each day that allow you to live that way. And all of a sudden, things will line up.
And that pull you, through the journey rather than pushing a rock up a hill. It's so much easier to pull and just finding that. And that's the value system. That's the strategy that you're going to be focusing on. Find things that make your life easier.
The massive pull for me, as simple as it is right now, is to get myself in a headspace where I can actually give more to the other people around me, and to just be a fucking epic dad. It's like financial freedom, I thought would like fulfill some sort of like trauma from my past. I thought it would like make me feel good. I thought people would be high-fiving me on the street. Not that I've achieved financial freedom, but this is what my lizard brain was creating. And it's like, what financial freedom's helping me do is drop the kids off at school. Like, be home some afternoons earlier. Like, take an extra day off a week. Take a week off in school holidays sometimes so I can be there with them. It's like, it's the simplest things, like to properly look after my health, because now I can choose if my wife will ever go to the bloody shop that I would like her to, the organic shop, and get me the organic food. Like, after this one thing for 3 years.
It's just
I was like, man, can you please just get me the organic food? But like, I have the choice to buy it because
well, you worked hard for it.
Give me an extra $200 a week. That can give me $200 a week worth of better food.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the all-encompassing idea as well. And that's why, like, when we're talking about this property stuff and when we're talking about financial freedom, we always end up back on these, like, deep conversations about figuring out your values, figuring out who you are, figuring out what you truly want as a person. Because until you figure that stuff out, you're never going to get to where you want. Because if you're just chasing money, then you're never going to be happy.
Money's epic. But like, to go to the big level, you just have to trade 100 hours a week of your life for the next 30 years. That's just as simple as it is. You want to be worth like $100 million, you just got to trade the time.
Yeah. Do the reps.
I think with the last thing I wanted to finish on around that is just property is no different than what we've discussed. So, so many people get overwhelmed at the thought of, I need to be financially free through property. And like, no, you don't. You just need to decide that property is your vehicle. Identify that you want to buy a home. Go, do I have the money to buy that home? Most people listening to this will be like, yep, I've got equity or a deposit. cool, do I want to do it on my own or do I want to partner with someone like Pumped? Easy. And then it's like you book a strategy session in with someone like us, or you sit down for 4 hours like I did the other night, go which part of Australia, which suburb, which capital city, house, and then just go for it. Like the first step of becoming financially free in property is getting the deposit, getting the plan, and then buying the first
Taking
joint.
action.
I never ever thought that I would buy 14 properties over 11 years when I bought my first one. I could never have seen it. And thank God I've sold most of them now, because I never want to own 14 properties in my lifetime. It sounds like a punish.
Those first 3 steps are the hardest ones. Like in the whole journey, those first 3 are the hardest ones.
Like, you just literally made your home beautiful off money that you made while
from
you
buying
slept,
this real estate.
from buying this home at a good time last year when everyone else is freaking out.
Which I can't wait to show you all. In a couple of weeks, we'll be putting out a progress video of the renovation, and I'm just frothing how sick it turned out.
So sick, man. I can't wait for everyone to see
it. Got a home.
Yeah, fully. Got a home.
Perfect. Well, yeah, thanks so much for sticking through and listening to this one, guys. I hope you're getting a little bit of value out of it. And I hope this is kind of giving you the motivation that you need to sit down for the 4 hours. It's probably the best place to start if you're at the start.
I'm OCD.
Make it 2.
Yeah, and half of it was like rewriting what I wrote because I wanted to change the
because you couldn't read it.
Yes, I couldn't read it. Like, who's this doctor that's been writing out my plan? Cheers, guys.
Oh, sweaty. So sweaty.